see the booklet, so I hope that will help you folks. And so with that, we're going to go right to being happy about Shabbat. Because one thing in the Jewish religion that's really interesting, we're really commanded to be happy. We're commanded to be joyful. It's not even like, well, I don't know, I don't really want to be joyful. No, you're actually commanded to be joyful. And it's one of those fake it and you make it type things that happens to us. And I know what brings us joy is when we usher in Shabbat and we have an Iraqi Kuwaiti rhythm to go with it. Doom, doom, tek, doom, doom, tek, doom, doom, tek. God know you're happy. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Shalom. May that peace, that energy of peace, spread through the entire planet. So I'm happy to welcome at this point our special guest, really person of God, person of love, Carl Moore. We've read a lot about Carl. You can find out about him in many places if you want to Google him. And Carl, if you don't mind coming up to the microphone, Carl's going to help us with an opening ritual here. And then we're going to have Carl back later for a special healing blessing. Okay, Carl, it's all yours.
It's all mine. Okay. Well, hello, Lolama Relations. My name is Carl Moore, and I'm happy to be here. And I'm happy about the music. I'm happy about the celebration. I'm happy that we're all here. I mean, happiness. Like you just talked about happiness, right? Yeah. I mean, so I don't know. I don't know really where to start other than just acknowledging the space that we're in. And while I'm acknowledging, I want to acknowledge Mother Earth here. I want to acknowledge the indigenous peoples that were first here before any of us were here, before myself and my relatives were here. I want to recognize the Shoshone people, the Ute people, the Goshute people, the Paiute people, and even going further down south, the Dene people, and even my relatives, the Hopi people, down south there. But I want to acknowledge, where we're at, and I also want to acknowledge the Creator. And I think I'm going to talk about the Creator. I'm going to talk about the way that I view God, or the Creator, Taiwa. Let me just kind of introduce like who I am anyway. So my name is Carl Moore. I actually grew up in Utah County. I grew up an LDS person, and through God's mercy and grace, I came out of that because that was not something for me. That's not some way that I could connect with the Creator God. Was through that, but I do acknowledge that there's so many different ways that we can connect with God. A lot of people would like to say, that are like anti-religion, whatever, they say, well, my church is the mountains. And I would say, yeah, you know what, that's a good place to be. I'll let that pass here. And that reminds me of it. As Indigenous people, our sacred spaces, our sacred places are actually just places. They're mountains. They're sacred spots. They're sacred springs. They're places where things have happened, where relationships have happened, where, if we want to go back to like Judaism, or where Moses went up into the mountain and saw God as being this burning bush that was never consumed, and this bush, this tree, this fire, all things that are not personal, they're not humans, but it is something that had a relationship and manifested themselves, to Moses as a bush, as a fire, and I think that is something that a lot of us, as we grow up in certain religions, in certain societies, in certain communities, we grow up thinking that the way that we grew up and the way that they conceptualize the Creator God is like the way to conceptualize the Creator God. And since my eyes being opened, I guess, I've learned through my path, through my journey of going through Mormonism, coming into evangelical Christianity, pretty orthodox evangelical Christianity, believing the orthodoxy of like the Trinity and like the Bible being the authority, the only authority of God, to understanding indigenous ceremony, indigenous ways of communicating with the Creator, doing those ceremonies, and I've come to the conclusion that God is so much bigger than any one of these religions. And my belief is that there is a God, and that this God created everything, created the world, created time, created energy, created the sun, created us, created the moon, the stars. And because this Creator created all of us, I think that that Creator has the sovereign right and the prerogative to speak to us how they want to speak to us, and through our culture. And I would like to remind, again, my background being Mormonism and Christianity, is that those concepts came and they're rooted in Judaism, right? Like Judaism and the people of the book and what happened there. What am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say that God, or Elohim, manifested themselves through culture. And one of those cultures was it's a patriarchal culture, patriarchy of like of a hierarchy of people, of the Creator being at the top, and then us as creation being lower than. And then Christianity comes, and then Christianity says that Yeshua is the manifestation of the Creator God in the flesh, and the reason why is because that it was a patriarchal society, it was a patriarchal culture, and they understood that. They understood that God, this father-son relationship, and the way that the son gets their inheritance from the father. And all throughout, like in general Christianity, we see these relationships of people getting inheritance, squandering inheritance, trading inheritance, doing those things. But that's just to say that was a way that they conceptualized our responsibility to God, or like who was in charge, and that is God. And I just want to say that for Indigenous people, we understand like who is in charge, and it is not us. It is not us as human beings. We are not the ones that are in charge. In fact, we need to remember, I like to talk about Indigenous people and our Indigenous rights and land back to Indigenous peoples everywhere. That's something that I advocate for. But also I would like to advocate for land back to the creations, to all the animals, right? So we have like all these animals who us as humans, we're displacing animals. We're displacing plants. We're creating ecologies that were never meant to be created. Like I'm thinking about the Great Salt Lake, and why the Great Salt Lake is disappearing is because we had these people that came over and they start pumping water out of it for certain things, to feed cows, to feed themselves in foreign ways, to create foreign gardens, or to get salt, to take this water out and let it evaporate and go away, and then to create salt, right? But that's just to say that human beings were kind of like messing things up. But I also want to acknowledge that we're also creations, and there was obviously a purpose for us. And our purpose is to live in a relationship with creation. So people are not bad, but we have done so many bad things, and we have a responsibility to all these things. So my general view is that there is a God, and that we can all conceptualize God in our own way, through our own culture, through our own songs, whatever that is, because God has that ability to speak to us all through so many different ways. And I appreciate what you are doing here, what y'all are doing here as being an interfaith group of welcoming people, because that's really what it's about. It's about educating people, celebrating life, celebrating each other. The way that I pray, the way that I sing my songs is in the Lakota way, and in the Lakota way, the Lakota amen is matakoye yasin, like all my relations, and that amen is acknowledging everything, is acknowledging creation everywhere, and everything, and acknowledging our part, and that acknowledges other people in all around the world. And I want to my purpose and my goal is that we all understand our relationship to each other, and also understand our unique medicines, our unique gifts that we have to give. I'm going to start now by we'll sing a song here, and this song is it's a Lakota song. It's a Four Directions song, but there's actually, it's called a Four Directions song, but it's actually Six Directions. And I want to acknowledge that when we're going to start here, and if y'all want to join me, we'll stand, and we'll honor, the directions. And the way that I was taught is that we start with the west. And the west is where the blessings come. And along with these directions, it's important that we all realize that the directions symbolize different things, and where we've gotten wind, we've gotten water, we get fire, we get blessings, we get the light, we get the sun, we get the afterlife, and all of these things. It's important that we recognize directions, because when you think about it, and this is and if you I don't know how many I bet you all indigenous groups understand this concept of four directions, right? Because if you think about it, we're in this world, and when we go to these directions, basically what happens is, and this is like the medicine wheel, is that when you go to the west, that west, and you continue all the way around, you go underneath and to the east and the north and the south, it'll all come back, and it all encompasses. It's all around us, right? So we acknowledge that. We also acknowledge Wakantanka Tukashila. Wakantanka is God. That is the creator. Tonkashila is the way that we personalize or anthropomorphize the creator as being our grandfather. And again, going back to relationships, a lot of people at Christianity conceptualize God the Father as a father. And it's my understanding in Judaism, like, God is not a father because God is not a human being. God is not human. God is not. But it's that conceptualization of a father and that relationship. But for us as Indigenous people, I think that it's pretty cool that it's more enduring than father. It's endearing because it's grandfather. And some of y'all have grandchildren, or you have a grandfather, and you understand that relationship, and hopefully it's a good relationship. And I want to acknowledge that some people have some pretty bad relationships with their family members. Fathers, mothers, grandfathers, grandmothers, whatever it is. I want to acknowledge that not every family is a good, great family. In fact, no families are good and great. But it's a matter of how we forgive each other and reconcile with each other. But anyway, so in an Indigenous way, father or grandfather, just like mother is actually grandmother Earth. A lot of people say Mother Earth, but they say grandmother Earth, Unchimaka, grandmother Earth, and because it's a personal relationship. It's not a relationship of dictatorship. It's not a relationship of what do you say? Discipline, thank you. It's not disciplinary, it's loving, it's showing, it's affection. It's showing by example and by love. And I just wanted to, if some of y'all don't know that, that's the way that we conceptualize the Creator, as being someone who's loving and affectionate and giving. But there are different roles, right? There are roles of people and family to be disciplinaries, and there's also other roles. And I want to acknowledge Unchimaka. In this song, we actually go the four directions, and then we go up to Wakantanka. So that's the above. And then we go to the below, which is it's underneath us. It's what grounds us all. It's where we all actually come from, is Grandmother Earth. And because this is interfaith, I just think this is interesting, that in most of our creation stories, creation happens with Earth. It is Earth. It is, like in the Hopi story, it's Spider-Woman, or this the Black Widow that makes people from saliva and the earth. I think it's the Assiniboine people. Their creation story of people coming about is the loon diving into the pond, into the pond, and going down to the bottom, all the way down, and getting that mud, coming up with that mud, and that's where people are formed, right? In the Bible, people are formed. Adam was formed out of earth. It is earth, right? So in all of these ways, we think about like religion. There's no need for religion or whatever, and then people say and they start talking about like science as if it's opposed to religion. But that's pretty scientific. It's scientific that we are the earth. All the elements of our being is from the earth. And it's important that we realize that. Now, when it comes to our spirit, I would say that it is the breath. It's the ha. It's the breath of God that gives us life. And it's the air around us that, and when we're breathing, we're living. And it's that soul that keeps our soul alive. I just want to acknowledge all those things. So when I sing this song, I'm going to acknowledge all those directions. Wakantanka, grandfather, the creator, and Unchimaka, grandmother earth. So if you just want to kind of do this with me, we'll do this. And I'm guessing this is west. Am I right? Yeah. Okay. All right. What's that? I'll sing into the mic. Okay, people at home. And other states and countries. Okay, here we go. Also, what's interesting is when I pray, and you see this in a lot of different religions or whatever in Christianity, is it's hands, right? Like it's hands. It's opening your hands, and in this hand, when I do this, it's symbolizing that there is a connection, that I am offering myself to the Creator. And a lot of times when you see the sun, it's offering myself to the sun and feeling that warmth and that heat, and it's praising. It's a way that we praise, right? So that's why I do this. But you didn't do whatever you want to do. Huyoch patakeya ai tuayo nintung ka shaila a hai tuwa hai yang kai lo ai chaki ayo a hai tuwa hai yang kai lo ai Wazia ai tuayo wa kantanka hechia hai ankelo hai cheki ayo ahituwa hai ankelo hai We all can patakeya ai tuayo nintung ka shaila a hai tuwa hai ankelo ai chaki ayo a hai tuwa hai ankelo ai Ito kagata keia ai tuayo nintung ka shaila a kai tuwa hai ankelo ai chaki ayo a hai tuwa hai ankelo ai Wakia takia hai tuayo wakantanka hechia hai ankelo hai chaki ayo hituwa hai ankelo ai Makatakia ai tuayo unchi makankya hechia hai ankelo hai cheki ayo anachotan hai ankelo hai wakantanka. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm not used to singing a song with a microphone. Kind of messed me up.
It's new. Beautiful. I'll tell those people online they will hear you.
Okay.
That's right. We have to, in the modern days, we have many compromises to include as many people as possible, because inclusivity is the word, and getting to know each other. Thank you so much, Carl. That was absolutely beautiful. And it reminds me a couple things in the Jewish faith that relate to what you talked about. First of all, I loved your thing about Adam, which is the right pronunciation in Hebrew. It's not Adam, it's Adam. Because Adam comes from Adamah. The word Adamah means earth. And what is the difference between Adam and Adamah? Adamah has that hey at the letter, that ha, that you're talking about, that ha. That's such an important letter, you know. And that was beautiful. Also, when you came into the directions, it reminds me so much what we do. At probably the highlight of our high holy days, which means like the holiest of the holiest at the end, you know, when we're dwelling with God in our booths, simple booths. It's usually in October around harvest, the October harvest. And when we get into these simple booths made of all natural materials, we honor 7 directions: east, west, north, south, up, down, and inside, and inside. So you have to wonder, you know, one God, one creator spread this throughout the whole earth. Comes out in many different forms, whether it's Christianity, Islam, Hindu, Buddhism, the indigenous faiths, of which to wrap them all up into one faith is probably not really fair, because indigenous faith is so broad. But we see those elements all around. So we're going to continue at the beginning here because we owe so much to the indigenous people that I want to do an opening devotion, which is on page 1 of your books. Okay? And first we start with a Louise Hay line, because what we're really about, what the Torah is all about, what God's trying to tell us at the very beginning, because God's like an attorney, right? What attorneys do when they speak to the jury and they want to say, if it doesn't fit, you must acquit, right? That's what happened in the O.J. case. Did Johnny Cochran wait 15 minutes into his closing argument to say that? No. I'm sure he said it at the beginning, he said it in the middle, and he said it at the end. Why? Because God and good attorneys all know that people fall asleep right after the beginning. If they're lucky, they make it through page 2 of the Bible, and then they see all the begets, and then they're off to bed, right? Or off to something else, right? So what happens at the beginning? We see the Creator, right? And the Creator creates with the Word. The Creator thought before the Creator created to teach us what we think and what we say ends up being our creation. And the world tomorrow really reflects all that everybody is putting out today. It really does. And so that's why we need to go backwards and start thinking, what am I thinking? What am I putting out? Sounds very much like Science of Mind, right? This is where Ernest Holmes, I believe, gets it from. So if we look at the page 1 on the top, this comes from Louise Hay, a beautiful Science of Mind minister of blessed memory. She says, I am in the right place at the right time doing the right thing. I internalize this. Then we want to take an affirmation land acknowledgement here. And we can say this together. I am acknowledging the Holy Great Spirit. I am acknowledging that we walk upon the traditional grounds of indigenous peoples, and we recognize their wisdom, history, spirituality, culture, and stewardship of the land, water, and all creation. I am acknowledging that this sacred gathering is being held on the traditional lands of the indigenous people, and pay my respect to elders, both past and present. I am grateful to all indigenous peoples for their commitment to protect the earth and its resources, and I am committed to love, reconcile, partner, and enhance harmonious relationships. I am acknowledging, praying, acting, and that a true justice, a tikkun in Hebrew, a repair healing, be achieved for all indigenous people. And let this be so. Amen. Aho, mitakwiasan. Aho, aho, aho. So, getting back to this whole idea of tabernacle, we can turn to your page 2. For a song, we call it a song, I guess, that's common on Shabbos. It's called Ma Tovu. Beautiful piece, because this is about creating tabernacles. The vision of tabernacles, people living in peace and making their home a holy tabernacle, making your body a holy tabernacle. It's so powerful that in the 5 books of Moses, the sight of people living in their tabernacles in peace changed the curse of Balaam into a blessing. That's how powerful it is. You want to be blessed? Make your home a home of peace. Ma Tovu, O Halecha, Yaakov Nish Kenoteh Chayis That's the holiest thing we can do, is make tabernacles of peace for ourselves and for everybody else, for the animals. A lot of people read that part in the Torah where it says, like, in King James, it sort of implies this, like, okay, people, you're created, you have dominion over the animals. You have control over them. Some people interpreted that to mean, you know what? You can do with them whatever the heck you want. No. The Bible is a trust instrument. Being an attorney, I know about trust, and I got this really in my first year at law school in 1974. Well, I've got to go way back. 74, I'm in law school. I'm 20 years old, and I'm learning trust. There's three elements of a trust instrument. There's a settler, there's a trustee, and there's a beneficiary. Look at the Bible, especially go to Genesis, the beginning. Like I said, God is like Johnny Cochran. If it doesn't fit, you must have quit. God says the important stuff at the beginning. What does God do as the settler of the trust? The person who, not the person, the entity that creates the trust. God as a trustee, as a settler, has to find a trustee. That's us, buddies. That's us. We're the trustee. And who are the beneficiaries? Yeah, us, but also the animals. Everything that's sentient, and the rocks. Rocks are animals too. They just breathe a little slower, okay? And then they are the beneficiaries and we are the beneficiaries. It's not that we were given dominion like we can do whatever we want. We were given responsibilities with that governance because God isn't expected to come down here and do everything for us. Right before the 10 Commandments are given. What happens right before the 10 Commandments are given? Moses' non-Jewish, so to speak, father-in-law is saying, Moses, you got some real issues, dude. You know what it is? You don't know how to delegate. You don't know how to, you're doing everything. You got all these thousands of people. You can't run them all. This is a terrible setup. Moses learns to delegate. Right after that, God issues the 10 Commandments. What does that have in common? The 10 Commandments, the other commandments, God has delegated to us, just like Moses' father-in-law, Yitro, taught Moses to delegate to others. We're delegates. We're God's delegates. We're God's arms and legs on earth to take care of the creatures, take care of the earth. How are we doing? Not all that great, because our technology has far exceeded our spirituality. Our technology has far exceeded our spirituality. There's the spiritual, there's the physical, there's the intellectual, there's the emotional. Some people focus totally on the sports or on the emotional or the intellectual. We've got to bring back the spiritual, because otherwise we're going to lose it with the technology. And we're not going to fulfill the most basic commandments that God gave us. So it sounds sort of harsh, but we do it in joy. And so the way to do it in joy is go to, well, before we do that, we're going to do candle lighting. And you want to do the blessing of God over the candles. We don't really bless the candles. We don't bless the food. You know, we bless God over these things. We bless the Creator because we're so grateful. Go ahead, Rebbetzein, Andalin.
And now we're going to bring in Shabbat formally. Ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la, ya la, ya la, ya la, ya la la, ya la la, ya la la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlek ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
La 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 la
Lie, 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 ne'er shall Shabbat.
Amen, amen. Page 6 in your books, Lachuna Ranana. Lachuna Ranana from Psalm 95:1. It's my friend Rabbi Daniel Siegel. Beautiful human being. Beautiful, beautiful person. Translated as, come, let's shout out joyously to Yahweh. Shout out. You know, we're so grateful to be alive, we actually shout it. Raise our voices to the source of our strength.
Lachuna Ranana, Ladonai, Nari Alexa, Yish Eini. Come, let's shout joyously to Yah. Raise our voices to the source of our strength. Lachuna Ranana, Ladonai, Nari Alexa, Yish Eini. Come, let's shout joyously to Yah. Raise our voices to the source of our strength. Lachuna Ranana, Lachuna Ranana, Ladonai, Nari Alexa, Yish Eini. Come, let's shout joyously to Yah. Raise our voices to the source of our strength.
We honor our Arab and Muslim friends with their scales and their rhythms. Beautiful people, beautiful people. We're so grateful for them. So grateful. So let me tell you a little story before we move on to Spider Woman, which I want to do because Carl mentioned Spider Woman.
It wasn't
the Navajo
planned.
Hopi legend. Wasn't planned. Wasn't planned. It is in your book, so actually, but I forgot what page. But anyway,
I'll find it.
we'll find. But in their books.
In their books?
Yes.
Um,
Page 4.
Page
Okay.
4.
Page 4. That early on. Okay.
wow.
Lost my train of thought, though. Okay.
You want to tell them a story about Spider Woman?
Well, Spider Woman and Judaism have so much in common. The interconnected web. When I did my Shekhinah CD, it was 1993. Shekhinah. Shekhinah is the feminine divine in Judaism, the spirit that connects everything. What else happened in 1993? We even put Spider Woman on that CD called Shekhinah, Hebrew Goddess, Restore the Balance. What else happened in 1993? It's like there are no accidents. The World Wide Web went public in 1993. Since 1993, we now have a vehicle to access all the energy input of people from all around the world. If you want to know how we're doing, go to the internet. Maybe somebody will develop an app Look at all the posts. How many are positive? How many are negative? Once again, once we take control of that, and once we start managing it, so we do the very first beginning words that God told us to take care of this place, right? And start thinking, because what we think we create. If we start putting on the internet what we really want to experience on this earth, it will happen. It will happen. Because the internet, in a sense, is part of the common consciousness, which is defined as the Shekhinah, the feminine divine in Judaism, the one that's really closest to earth to help us all. And she's also the Spider Woman of the Hopi Navajos. I don't even need the music.
There is a woman who weaves the night sky. See what she spins, how her fingers fly. She is within us, beginning to end.
Our grandmother, our sister, our friend.
She is the needle and we are the thread.
She is the weaver and we are the web.
Flow and we are the ebb.
We is the weaver and we are the web. She changes everything she touches.
And everything she touches changes. She
Changes everything she touches.
and everything she touches
Changes.
Weave
Weave on, Spider Woman. Weave on, Spider Woman. There is a woman who weaves the night sky. See what she spins, how her fingers fly. She is within us, beginning to end. Our grandmother, our sister, our friend.
She is the needle and we are the thread.
She is the weaver and we are the web.
She is the flow and we are the ebb.
She is the weaver and we are the web. She changes everything she touches.
And
Everything she touches changes.
she changes everything she touches.
And everything she touches
Changes. Weave on, Spider Woman.
Weave
on, Spider Woman.
Weave on, Spider Woman.
Weave on, Spider Woman. Spider Woman. Yeah.
Shows the universality of the Creator again, huh? From all around the globe.
Based on the Hopi
And now we
legend.
have the World Wide Web. What are we going to do with it? Let's think about that. You know, activism is pretty darn important, and Carl, I admire you for it. I admire our son-in-law, Adrian, for his activism. You know, it's really, really important. Prayer is not enough. In Judaism, prayer doesn't make it, man. It's great to pray, but you have to follow it up with action. 3 things in Judaism: return to God, teshuvah. That's the first principle. The second principle, tefillah, pray. But the third one, the first 2 are no good without the third. Tzedakah, acts of charity. Tzedakah also means justice. Think about it. Charity, giving to each other, creates a floating boat of equality, right? And that's why it's the same word for justice. And tzedakah, charity. Being charitable helps create justice. Seeking justice helps create charity. Interesting thing about the Hebrew language that way. So, with that, we want to...
We have to go fast.
And we have, yes, we're going to do the Baruch Hu, which is a way of calling us all in and bringing it into the God energy so we can usher in the Shema, the holiest prayer in Judaism, which is written on the doorposts of our gates. Okay? Comes from Deuteronomy. Doorposts of our gates, every doorway in our home. And it's supposed to embellish all our thoughts of the day because we're so easily distracted. We forget about our oneness and the oneness in all. That's what the Shema does. So the gateway to it is the call to prayer, the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai hamavarach. Baruch Adonai hamavarach leolam va'ed. Page 11 to 13 in your books. My 17. I'm going to do this in Hebrew with Rebbetzin, Andalin, and anybody else who wants to say it along in Hebrew. The first line of the Shema and the V'ahavta, and then we'll do the translation in English. This is so critically important. And when you hear the translation, which I've really worked hard on, because King James doesn't do it. King James doesn't do it. They didn't understand. You'll see how indigenous this really is. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, b'chol levavecha, v'chol nafshecha, v'chol meodecha, v'hayu adivarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavecha, hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibartam, v'shiftecha b'veitecha, u'v'letecha v'aderek, u'v'shapeka, u'v'kumecha, u'kshartam liot al yadecha, v'hayu l'totefot b'neinecha, u'shavtam al mezuzot beitecha, u'v'sharecha. The English translation. You can say it together with me if you want. You will evolve and learn to love the divine light presence in everything, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with everything you have available to do so.
The
Focus on this divine light will be at the heart of your being at all times and all places. Teach this focus as well as you can to all of the next generation. Say out loud the importance of this focus. When you are residing in your home, when you are away from your home, when you are walking about, when you are lying down, and when you are rising up. Lest you forget, make a reminding simple so that you remember these teachings by writing upon your arm, and they shall be as tefillin between your eyes. And write this reminder upon the doorposts of your home and upon all your paths of entry and exit, from one event to another, so that this always takes precedence over any distraction. Affirmation. I am connected to the power that created the entire universe. And with this connection, I remain centered and focused on all that is holy. Let us say Ahom Takwiyasin. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. May we always have something to remind us so we don't forget. We get distracted so easily. So easily. See how different it is when it's translated from the Hebrew into English when you study the Hebrew as opposed to relying on King James. Remember King James, all your soul, all your heart, all your might? Guess what? The word might isn't there. It's meodecha, everything you got. Everything you got. Whatever it is. If you're an attorney, use all your attorneyhood. Accountant, use all your accountanthood. If you're a carpenter, use all your carpentry. Whatever it is that you got. So important to get back to the actual original Hebrew. And so with that, with the Shema, we're moving on to the Amidah. The Amidah is actually the only prayer we know from the Second Temple. The First Temple, we know almost nothing. It was probably a lot like this service, very spontaneous, joy, happy, music. It was a lot of joyous partying in a way. But we don't have those records, and that's probably why it was so joyful. Everybody was so happy they didn't write it down. Second Temple, they didn't write it down either, but after the Second Temple was destroyed, somebody in Yavna, one of the remnants after the Romans left, said, you know, I think we better write some of this stuff down. So they wrote what we call the Tefillah, the prayer, the Amidah. And so we're in renewal here, and we're sort of going to do an Amidah that's creative because we really need to heal. And this is our healing chant, which we put, where is it in their books, at the end of their book?
Oh, yeah, it's an insert at the end of the book.
And where will I find it?
We include it for this special service, and you will find it on page 22.
22?
And we're starting on Kivji, correct?
Oh, 22. Yeah. Well, okay, a little bit of teaching here. The first human, we're going to do another healing later. The first thing to really be healed in all the Hebrew scriptures, whether you're Christian, Jewish, Muslim, and all the scriptures, what was the first healing? It was water. We'll get to that a little bit later. It wasn't even people. This one's people, though. When Miriam got leprosy, got a skin disorder, Moses, what good relationship with the grandfather, the grandmother, all those, all-embracing deity. He was sad about his sister, and he cried out, El na rafanala, God, please heal her now. We say this for the earth. We say this for all that needs to be healed today, El na rafanala. Because when Moses said that, Miriam went into the wilderness, and she was completely healed. Once again, the power of the word, the power of the word, and the power of good deeds that Moses had. I want to mention some things that are in here to be healed. Not much, because I want to get to this. And think about all those things that be healed. We mentioned relationships. Not only do we ask God to be healed, we are here to help heal God. This is revolutionary in Judaism. What, God needs a healing? Yeah. God, at the very beginning of the 5 books of Moses, once again, go right back to Johnny Cochran. You got to go right back to the beginning. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. What happens in the beginning? I think it's almost like the second or third verse in the Bible. God is hovering over the water. The Spirit of God is hovering over the water. And then what happens? Imagine that. Imagine you're in the old days and you're hovering over water. What was water in the old days? It was the first mirror, right? You wanted to see yourself, and it's like 10,000 years ago. Better find some water, right? And you go, whoa, that's what I look like. God's hovering over the water, and God says, let there be light. What does God see? God sees that God's all alone. It's sad. Very all alone. We're here to heal that with God. Because what happens at the end of the Torah? The Torah is like Wikipedia. It's filled with hyperlinks. So one part might relate to another part, and you got to click on those hyperlinks. What happens at the end of the Torah? Is God all alone? No. It says God and Moses are panim el panim, face to face. God is in relationship. God is healed. God is healed. God gets healed through us. And God is also our healer. Isn't that interesting? So we're not like this parent-child relationship that so many people speak, oh, you're the children of God. No, no, no. We are God's partner. We are God's partner. And we are never alone. As we get to later, you'll find out the last thing Jews say before they go to bed is Adonai li v'lo ira. I'm not alone. God is always with me. I'm not alone. So loneliness and this healing chant that we're going to do is so important, because if you've ever been lonely, it could be more painful than a broken leg. What's even more lonely, because I had a broken shoulder once, is when you have a broken leg or a broken shoulder and you're all alone. Believe it or not, there's people like that in this world. They really are. We're to help with that loneliness. So that's in this chant. So with that, Andalin. Heal all your people. Heal all in pain. Heal all creation. Heal your world again. Heal those that hunger. Heal those with AIDS. Heal all the orphans. Heal your world again. Heal those in war time. Heal those that lost their way. Heal the sick and homeless. Heal your world again. Heal those in mourning. Heal those estranged. Heal those in mourning. Heal your world again. Heal all the lonely. Heal those enslaved. Heal those in refuge. Heal your world again. Heal those filled with fear. Heal those with terror reigns. Heal the sacred planet. Heal your world again. Moses' words. Hail feel the great healing, the energy going around the planet, in and out of everything. Let's give you a little rap here, a short one. The last part when we went, yeah, yeah, yeah. Why did Jews do that? Why do we do that? Things without words we understand. Yeah, 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 ha, yeah, yeah. I'll tell you why. It's written in the Zohar, probably the greatest writing of Jewish mysticism. Oh boy, if I can remember. Koma divra kucha brechu be'alma, kuhu amri tushbechan v'sher kameh, bein leila, bein latata. Everything the Holy One created sings to the Holy One. Everything, birds, rocks, people, sing to the Holy One. Praises and chants, both above and below. Almost sounds a little corny, right? But I'll tell you a little bit more to the story, and I'll make it short, because I want to get back to Carl here. When this is no joke, when Voyager 2 was sent out from Earth, it shocked the scientists because it went to other planets. You know what Voyager 2 found out? Every planet sings. And it recorded the songs with electromagnetic fields. And then I bought the 4-CD set on eBay by NASA, not by a bunch of New Age gurus, but what's it, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, right? NASA scientists. Can you imagine how that blew their doors off? Yet it was written by our ancestors and by the ancients long ago that everything sings God. So why should it be a shock to find out that the planets sing? The planets sing, and everything does. So with no further ado, I'd like to bring back...
I want to do the Mishabaric list for all
Okay, we're going to do a Mishabaric list, and then we're going to call up Carl to help us with a healing blessing, and then another healing chant. Because we're really focusing on healing tonight. Then we're going to wrap it up, by the way.
Yes, we said this was a very
But
special.
we got to have the mourners tribute as well, because it's so important to honor our ancestors.
Okay, so with that, we did send out a request on our Facebook page, and our members sent in names of people who needed healing. And we're keeping them in our mind, and so I'd be remiss if I did not give their names, as well as knowing that we're davening for so much for our loved ones who are in need of comfort and strength and healing, for Mother Earth, for all of us, for those recovering from natural disasters, for those recovering from accidents, for the lonely people without homes, the addicted, and for those beginning again, even those in need of miracles, and more. So in this thread on Facebook, I was given these names by our members. So we're thinking of and sending deep healing blessings to Judith Levin, Charles Kaplan, Chamaigne Charette, Rabbi Sarah Leah Mazel Tov Bat Vega Manja, all who suffer, Jan and Steve Elman, Joni, Jason Elman, Larissa Medzinsef, Michael J. Fox, Selma Blair, Patty McKay Kelly, P.J. Clevenger, Sydney Mraz, Fred Bloom, recovering from heart valve replacement surgery, Harold Frick, it might be Frick, I'm not sure how to pronounce it quickly, Frick, R.D., Menachem Chaim Ben Dov Halevi Veshmarona Bat Kohen, Wendy and Michael Stovall, who were here at our last session, Pedro A., Jonathan Ben Eliana, Samuel Nichols Dorius, Chaya Lerner, Bib Daniels, Abi Camino, and Rachel R. Raish.
If anybody wants to, you're welcome to say it out loud. You're welcome to think about that person as Carl does the healing blessing, and we do. Adrian, please. Okay.
Bernard Nosenchuk.
Yes, thank you.
Jerry Hollowell. Heloise Mooney.
John?
Kayabat Miriam.
Let's also add all the things we mentioned in that prayer. Lonely people, the planet, the birds, the Salt Lake, all the barometers we see around us that tell us that the climate is in trouble. Climate's in trouble. With no further ado, I'd like to have Carl Moore come back and help us with a healing blessing.
I'm gonna grab the stand here, because...
Yep, please.
Okay. So we need to do like a podcast together, because I've got like so many things that you say. I like want to comment on like everything. But oh, great. Anyway, yeah. There's so that like the more that I hear and the more that I experience other cultures, the more that I realize how similar we are. You know, and talking about like songs and being and giving God being the best carpenter that you can or whatever, I totally agree with that. Is like, it's interesting that animals and plants and all these things, they all praise God, but it's people that don't. You know, like every single plant does what a plant does. Every single animal does what an animal does. They're really good at being what they are. But us as humans, like, we do not live up to our potential, and we don't sing, and we don't praise, not all of us praise God. And so I really appreciate that. That's something that we all need to remember, is that, you know, everything does their job. But it's like humans, we kind of like mess things up a little bit. So, really, I appreciate this opportunity, and if we're going to be talking about, or if this is about healing, and I think that all worship is healing in a way. I'm going to, well, let me explain this, I guess. One is, like, there's a lot of, again, a lot of cultures, a lot of indigenous cultures, we all do smudgings. We all have something to offer, aromas, scents, that we offer up that are pleasing to the Lord or pleasing to God, right? We believe that, you know, as indigenous people, we have like basically 4 sacred medicines. We have the tobacco, we have the cedar, we have the sage, and we have the sweetgrass. And these 4 different medicines were given to us so that we could bless ourselves and bless others. And again, it's like these things are doing their jobs. The sage does its job. It gives itself. You know, the sweetgrass does its job. It gives us its medicine. I believe that we all are medicine. We all have medicine to give. And this eagle, you know, there's a reason for this eagle. There's a reason why the eagle exists. There's a reason why we have a relationship with the eagle. And one of the purposes, there's a lot of purposes to everything, but this eagle here, eagles bless us. And as indigenous people, one thing, I'm not speaking for everybody, just so you know. I'm speaking for myself, but I'm speaking in general terms, because not all indigenous people revere the eagle as the number one animal, I guess, or the one that is closest to God. But for most of us, I would say that the eagle is the one that has that medicine to be the intermediary between us and the Creator. In Christianity, it's Yeshua, it's Jesus Christ, that is the mediator, and it's with the death of the innocent that reconciles, our sin or our fallacies or our inadequacies. And the eagle here, especially in the Hopi way, is the eagles that we use are eagles that have never had to kill anything. They're eagles that we've gathered out of their nest before they've flown away, and because once they fly away, they're going to eat for themselves. They're going to kill something, but it's the eagles that are innocent and pure that we use as Hopi people, and then we let them go, and it's by their death. And it's by their sacrifice that we are healed and that we get to continue on. So that's something about the eagle, and the eagle flies the highest, we say, and it's on the prayers of eagles. You know, when we say our prayers and we smoke, you know, that chanupa, or we say our prayers with words, or we put it into the smoke, you know, it all goes up. It just goes up, and it's just up there. But the eagles fly by, and they fly, and they catch those prayers, and they take those prayers up to the Creator. So another interesting thing that we rely on intermediaries or intercessors between us and the Creator God. So with this eagle fan here, it's the eagle that's going to be blessing you. It's the medicine, you know, it's the sage and that's going to be blessing you. It's not me. It's the Creator, it's the animal, it's the medicines. But I'm just a spokesperson, or I'm the one that's doing it. You know, and also in the way, in my belief is, you know, our prayers are answered basically through us. It's us that are the answers to prayers. The Creator, like we all say our prayers, or maybe not all of us, but we say our prayers and we ask for things. But it is up to us. So in my prayers, I always pray for us that we can continue. You can be the hands and the feet and the mouth, and you know that do the things. And like you said, you know, prayers in and of themselves don't do anything. I think that the reason for prayer is to humble ourselves, so that we can recognize we are insufficient. We can't do anything on our own, but we need something else. We need somebody else, something. And we can be the things that bless other people. So that's what's going to be happening here. I'm just going to, I'll sing a song, and it's a forgiveness song. If you know it, you can sing along with me. But I will be blessing everybody. Again, using, you know, the medicine that has given itself to me. You know, I feel honored to have these medicines. But in an indigenous way, you know, if you can, stand up, you know, during this out of respect for the medicines. If you don't, it's okay. And then also when I'm praying, you know, you can pray in your own way. You can say your own words. And I want to, so I'm going to be singing this song as a prayer, and then I'm going to say a prayer. So I'll do this first here. And I'm really scared. You've smudged in here before? You got all of this.
I don't think the sprinkler's going to go off.
God is on our side. Okay. I'm just going to do a little bit here. I'm really scared about this. Oh, I, oh, hi, oh, hi, hi, oh, I, oh, oh, hi, oh, hi, oh, way, I, oh, ha, way, I, oh, hi, oh, hi, oh, way, I, oh, ha, way, I, oh, hi, oh, hi, way, I, oh, ha, way, I, oh, hey, oh, way, oh, hey, oh, I, oh, hi, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, the Creator God, just we're happy to be here as your creations. We acknowledge you. We acknowledge that you are the creator of everything, that you've created this air that we breathe, that you created the water that blesses us, our first medicine here. We acknowledge that you created all these trees, the environment that we live in here. We acknowledge that you are the creator of the mountains. We acknowledge that you are the creator of the birds, all this medicine that gives itself to us. You're the creator of the eagles. You're the creator of the corn. You're a creator of the squash. You're the creator of all the foods that we eat. You're the creator of the insects. You're the creator of the fish. You're the creator of all these things. Creator, acknowledging you in all this, we know that you have the power to make things right. Creator, we come to you at this time asking forgiveness, asking that you have pity on us for all the things that we've done wrong. Acknowledge that we do things wrong every day, but also acknowledging that we need your help. Acknowledging that we can't do things on our own, but that we need you. Creator, I pray blessings on everybody here with their needs, whatever their needs are, their sadnesses are, their hurts are, their physical pains, their emotional pains, their emotional traumas, the relationships that are maybe strained at this moment. Creator, I pray that you make everything right. Creator, I also pray that when things don't happen our way, that we also trust you, that everything will be okay in the end. Maybe we don't get all those answers that we want, but that you will make everything right. Creator, we acknowledge that you can do that. Creator, we also acknowledge all of us here are related. Not just all the plants and animals, but we're here related, and we're here, as your creation. And we acknowledge our duty and our responsibility to take care of each other, to take care of the environment, to take care of all the plants and the animals, everything that we come in contact with. Creator, we pray, that we can be good examples of what people should be. We pray, that we can inspire other people to follow you, to know who you are, whatever that walk is, whatever that path is, that somehow they can find you, Creator. Creator, again, we acknowledge you, acknowledge our existence and our breath that comes from you, acknowledge our bodies that come from this earth here that you've created, that the earth sustains us and it takes care of us. Help us to be thankful and grateful. Creator, I also want to pray, for all of these names that have been spoken here, all the names of the people that have, the names in everybody's hearts here. Bless them. At the least, help everybody to know that they are cared for, that they are loved, not only by people here, but also by you. Show yourself to them, however you do that. Show yourself to them. Help them realize that the sun is a manifestation of you, that the air is a manifestation of you, that the water that we drink is a manifestation of you, that the neighbors that we have are a manifestation of you, that our parents, our mothers especially, are a manifestation of you. So, Creator, we ask all these things, and we give our appreciation to you. Aho, matak yasan.
Thank you so much, Carl. When you mentioned sacrifice, it reminded me of something I was going to say earlier, and I'll make it short, as we go into a little Devar Torah before we do another healing chant. The next healing chant will be on your page 21. Also comes out of the Torah. Before I further do this, he mentioned sacrifice. This is really pretty important. And I mentioned before how we were grateful for the Arab people. If Jews want to understand their past, the best way to look at that is look at the nomads of today, the Arab nomads. So much like the ancient Hebrews. What do we learn from them? Why does it relate to sacrifices? Who knows what the word is for sacrifices in the Hebrew? It's not sacrifice. It's carbonot. Anybody know what the root word of carbonot is? It's karov, to get close. What does getting close have to do with it? Well, if you know anything about the Arab world, my friend Adnan grew up very close to where the original Abraham lived, in Iraq. And you can confirm this, Adnan. If you tell somebody, maybe somebody new to town, hey, you know what, buddy? I've got this cow that's really pretty amazing. Amazing cow, not one blemish on it. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to roast up this cow tonight and have you come over for dinner. And you say, yeah, that sounds great. I'll tell you, when that happens, you better show up when they take their most beautiful cow and prized possession and burn it up so you can have some of it with that person. You better show up. That's what they did with God. That's what they did with God, their animals. It said, don't bring me your unblemished animals. Why? Because of the consciousness of the people. They thought if they took their most precious animals and sacrificed it in a holy way with prayers for the animal's soul, that God would show up. It was all about getting close. Then the oral traditions, which are wrapped up in the Talmud, say, you know what? That may have been good for the people the way they were thousands of years ago, just to show you that Judaism really is a religion of change. They say that was great thousands of years ago because that's what the people thought. But we're a little more advanced today, and you know what? Prayer is as good as any sacrifice. Prayer. Taking our time, even now, the length of this service, almost feels like, wow, we're spending a long time. Really? For all that God's given us, we're spending a long time giving back and trying to center and heal this planet. It's really not a long time when you think about it. That's sacrifice, getting close. It's all about getting close, getting the God space close to us, getting close. Then, this is a very indigenous part of the Torah that almost nobody talks about that leads into the next healing chant. The first thing to be healed in the Torah is water. What happens? Any of you were in a desert, right? Those people were in a desert. What do you see when you see a bunch of trees all lined up? You're out in the desert and there's a whole bunch of trees in a line. What do you know is there? Water, right? Water. So after the plagues in Egypt, which were awful, by the way, and after the Egyptians died at the Sea of Reeds, also awful, the interconnected earth reacted. And the first thing the mixed multitude run into after they leave the Sea of Reeds and all those plagues is a body of water that's bitter. Body of water that's bitter. But you know what? It couldn't have always been bitter because there was a nice tree right next to it. There were trees near it. They didn't know what to do about the bitter water. So God always creates the cure before the disease, which is why we must not lose any species on this planet. And this is taught here. God says to Moses, take that tree, stick it in the water. God does, and the water becomes sweet and becomes drinkable and saves the people. Otherwise, they would have all died off. So the tree saved them, but really the water saved them too, because without the water, there wouldn't have been the tree and whatnot. And it also shows the interactivity between the water and what happened on the earth, how it got bitter. And so God says right after that healing of the water, Ki ani Hashem rofecha, or Ki ani Adonai rofecha. I am the God. I am the one who heals you. God is the healer. Why does God say, I am the one who heals you, after Moses sticks the tree in the water? God healed the water. Interesting, huh? So for all those that need healing, this is on page 21 of your book. Ki ani Hashem rofecha, Ki ani Hashem rofecha, Ki ani Hashem rofecha, Ki ani Hashem rofecha. For I am the one who heals you. For I am the one who heals you. Ki ani Hashem rofecha, Ki ani Hashem rofecha. I am in your heart, I am in your bones. don't give up on me, for
I'll see you through.
for I am the one
Who will heal you?
And speaking of healing, our wonderful friends, Helene and John Cuomo are here to talk a little bit about the Great Salt Lake and give us beautiful activist leaflets, which is always an important part of every service. Isn't it? In tradition, probably what happened in the first temple, you know, only then they were big stones, you know, so the people were in good shape passing those stones around. Well, you can come on up, Helene. We got a mic for you.
Not online.
No, people online need to hear
We have
you.
a large audience online.
Right.
Rabbi Allen mentioned we're missing spirituality and spearing and trying to heal the earth. And Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel said we're using our earth as a toolbox. Where is our wonder? Where is our awe? And I think by bringing in interfaith people into a new organization, it's called the Great Salt Lake Interfaith Action Coalition, we're hoping to bring in the awe, bring in the wonder, get peoples of all faith together and have another voice to try to help and save the Great Salt Lake. It's really not happening, and it's not happening at all or fast enough, in our opinion. And this is just another way to try to heal the earth, tikkun olam. So if you're interested in finding out more about this organization, it's called the Great Salt Lake Interfaith Action Coalition, GSL-IAC. And we meet right now monthly on Zoom. I'm going to leave this out on the table. And there's an email to get in touch. And if you want more information, you can also get in touch with me. I'm Helene Cuomo at gmail.com. But even this is coming up on July 15th from 10 to 3 at Salt Lake Community College, the Miller campus in Sandy. Free lunch. It's a free event. There's a QR code to register. And I think it's the second one. It's the People's Great Salt Lake Summit, in which we're bringing in peoples from all over the valley. Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment, GSL, IAC, Stop the Arsenic Dust Storms, Great Salt Lake Audubon, Utah Rivers Council, Heal Utah, Westminster's been doing a lot of research, Tory House Press, Center for Biological Diversity. So they're all in onto this. And the more people, the better, to help spread the word, to really make it a purpose that all of us, all of our voices together, maybe we can make a difference. And there's going to be the Interfaith Action Coalition is going to have a panel. I think it's right after lunch, from 1 to 2 maybe. There'll be an agenda. So check out the Interfaith Coalition. We're having lots of different people from the interfaith communities talk about what we can do, what action we can take, and how together we can make a difference. So I will leave these on the table, and thank you, Alan, and let's bring back the wonder and awe and save the Great Salt Lake.
Thank you, Helene and John. Hopefully we'll have John coming back with Adrian playing some guitars sometime. That would be great in this. So thank you so much. Important to save the lake. The lake's like our barometer. And we might think, oh, we got a lot of water this year, but I hear there's an El Nino, and it doesn't look good for this coming year in terms of water. And so we don't have enough. It looks like to heal the lake. But we certainly have a lot of power to do it, so we're going to. So that, we always have to honor our ancestors, those that made this a better place for us. Once again, something we have in common with the indigenous people. We have in common with the people of India and China, many places where Jews ended up, where they were greeted with great kindness. One of the things that bonded us, we even found this on plaques in China, was the fact that they loved the fact that we honored our ancestors, the people before us, those who passed. And then you got the Lord's Prayer, right? How does it begin? Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Do you know where that comes from? The Hebrew Kaddish, which became the Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah. To be great in this holiness, Shemei Rabbah, make the name greater. Why do we say that when somebody passes? Because a holograph of the divine has left us. Many way, beautiful wisdoms, beautiful people, each their own special light of God, like a different color of the rainbow, has left us. It's our job to make up for that by honoring them, doing great deeds, Activism, as I mentioned before, that's the active component again, that's tzedakah, the charity. Really critical to honor those that passed. So we're going to start with El Malay, which is on your books on page 22, 23, and then we'll go to the Kaddish, and then pretty much a wrap. But this is so important. If anybody wants to mention anybody or anything that's passed, do you have a list, Andalin?
I have a short list. We've recently lost Bluma Bat Miriam, who is very close to us for a long time through Ruach Hamidbar. Rabbi Shea Eisenberg, who was one of the first people to join our House of Prayer for All People's Facebook
But
page.
his funeral's Sunday, so we'll include him to the extent that's allowable.
Oh, they have not buried
Okay.
him yet.
Yeah.
And then, of course, on July 8th, my parents passed away 50 years ago. And so I'm just going to say I'm remembering my parents. And anybody else who has someone that they want to remember, say it out loud or keep it in your heart. But we definitely want to think about them as we do Kaddish in a moment. But first, I guess we're going to do
El Malay. These
El
El
Malay.
Malay comes from words written in the Middle Ages. Imagine in the Middle Ages being this enlightened. Once again, they mention the Shekhinah, the feminine divine presence, because that's who carries us out into the next world, on the wings of the Shekhinah, like the wings of the eagle. And it also mentions the need for charity. 22 to 23.
compassionate source, filled with mercy, dwelling in the heavens high. Take our loved one upon the wings of holy Shekhinah, among the rays of the sacred and the pure, illuminating like the brilliance of the skies, as we dedicate tzedakah in the name of the soul of our loved one. May you, the source of all mercy, provide contentment for our loved one in Gan Eden. Shelter in your wings forever, and never, ever withdraw your wings, and bind the soul among the living. Yah, the soul's lasting light, united in peace at last. And let us say, Amen. And bind the soul among the living. Yah, the soul's lasting light, united in peace at last. And let us say, Amen.
Nahom Etakuyasin, Amen. Amen. Mourner's Kaddish, which should be on the same pages, I think. Is that right, Andalin? We normally say this without singing. But as I said, it's about bringing more God into the world and committing to do acts of charity, acts of activism. In this world, we must be active, or we're not going to heal this planet. We can pray, we can center, but we must act too. Yikadal, v'yikadal shemei Rabba, v'almad v'vrach yirutei, v'yamlich malkatei, v'yitzmach purkanei, v'karei meshechei, v'chaye chone v'yom echone, v'chaye, v'chol beit Yisrael, b'agala uzman kariv v'yamru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mavarach, li'olam omei almaya, Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yipa'ar v'yishomam v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudisha b'rechu amen le'ela min chol b'katav v'shirata tush b'chatav v'nechemata damiran b'yama v'yimru amen Hey shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen Seh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael V'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'yamru, amen. And then, after the service, it's pretty common to recite Aleinu. I'm just going to tell you about it briefly because we're sort of late in the time. Aleinu means it's upon us. It's great that it follows us. It's upon us. L'takein olam b'malchut shaddai. The key words in there. L'takein olam, to heal the world. B'malchut shaddai, with the power of the Holy One. Yeah. The Holy One created the whole world. When we connect with the Creator that created everything, that's all the power we need to heal this world. So let's keep that as our focus, Aleinu. Aleinu. And then I want to conclude with a little bit of Adon Olam, because that's so important. Adon Olam is in your books on 24. Thank you so much. What number is it now? Ours, Andalin.
28.
28, okay. Adon Olam, little story here, make it short. Shlomo Gavarol, I love this story. Rabbi Shlomo Gavarol is believed to be the writer of this. He lived around the year 1100. He was a little boy. He had a terrible skin condition. And he couldn't sleep because of his terrible skin condition. The other thing that happened to him is everybody made fun of him. And he was bullied and he was mocked. And he was all alone. Except for one thing. He knew God was with him. He knew God was with him. So his last words in Adon Olam are, Adonai li v'lo ira, which Rabbi David Siegel translates as, I'm not alone, I shall not fear. That's said by every traditional Jew, frankly, right before they go to bed. The last thing before you go, I'm asleep. You say, I'm not alone, I will not fear. You're going to wake up. And all through the night, you're going to be okay because the light of God is that light created on the very first day of creation. Before the sun and the moon and the stars are created on the fourth day. On the first day, the light is created that's there all night long. And that will heal us. So that's the Adon Olam story. And we honor Shlomo Gavrol because now we know he's a hero, you know? Surviving all that mocking and understanding that he was truly the hero. Adon Olam. Asher Malach, B'terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, Le'nasa, B'chesed Kol, Azay Malech, Shema Nikra. You were cosmic, Lord Yamalach. Before there even was a world, then your will, all things did make. Yamelech, we call you now. Be'ado, Ad Kivruchi, Be'eti Shine. Adonai li velo ira. Into your hand I trust my soul. Night and day your love is near. All that I am is one with you. I'm not alone. I shall line again. I'm not alone. I shall not fear. I'm not alone. I shall not fear. Closing, Holy Shekhinah, Holy Spider Woman, the feminine divine presence that's in everything. Holy, 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 holy Shekhinah. 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 Yod, hey, Vav, hey. Holy, 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 holy Shekhinah. Heal us, change us. Holy, 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 holy Shekhinah. Hey, holy, 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 holy Shekhinah. Hey, holy, 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 holy Shekhinah. Holy, 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 holy Shekhinah. Holy, 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 holy Shekhinah. Take it, Andalin. Holy, 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 holy Shekhinah. 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 We'll go outside. Thank God for all the food and the free pizza, vegan and vegetarian. And just tell you one last thing about the tallis. Look at this. What is this? What is this really? I'll tell you what it is. When you're a nomadic people, the cavemen who were the holiest, remember I said our spirituality now doesn't exceed our technology. Back then their spirituality exceeded their technology in the caveman days. They made caves all over the earth to honor the great-grandmother, places of resurrection. Even Jesus, after 3 days, right? What does he come out of? A cave. This is the portable cave of the nomadic people. They got to take the cave with them. It's the place where new life is formed. In the dark, in the yin, in the Shekhinah, in the feminine divine presence in this cave. This is being under the wings of the Shekhinah. And with that, I leave you with a special blessing on the food and the grape juice, that we thank God for everything that's been given to us. Everything. Thank you, God. We are extremely grateful. We know it wasn't an easy thing being in service to you and dedicating all this time. That's our sacrifice. That's the sacrifice of the modern world. Our time. Our time. Our time and our money. That's our calf without a blemish. That's our calf without a blemish. So thank you all for being here. Thank you all you people online. We love you. And this is available on YouTube. We'll stay on YouTube. Thank you all very much. Raj, that is what they say in the old days, a wrap. Thank you.
And I'd like to thank Raj and Chamaigne very much for doing the live stream for us.
And Lauren for photography.
And Lauren for photography, and Ann Waters, who is helping us with the refreshments. And the Kiddush. I also want to thank Adnan and Bryan.
And Carl Moore.
For
Carl Moore. Wow. Thank you all so much. Now that's really the wrap, Raj. Okay.